friends, it's Amy Powers, and I have a process video for Craft Roulette. I've never made a process video for Craft Roulette, but Deborah Capps said she'd like to see one for this card, so here goes nothing. The parameters this week are a card for an influencer, dreamy colors, crafts, crafters, and off-center. I used a stamp set that is new for me. I bought it from Art Impressions' spring sale, and it seemed like a good time to use it. I think this stamp set is a few years old. I stamped the image using VersaFine Onyx Black. I also stamped the paintbrush image to use as a 3D element. I stamped these images onto watercolor paper and had to stamp it quite a few times to get a clear image. I also stamped the image onto patterned paper so that I could paper piece the rug and the pajamas. On my original card, I also paper pieced the crown and the die cutting machine. After I die cut the stamped image that I had stamped onto patterned paper, I fussy cut out the rug and pajamas and glue them into place. I painted this image with Tombow watercolor markers that I scribbled onto a plastic plate, and I switched between a number 4 and a number 1 brush. This is sped up a bit, but almost all of the footage is here, so you can see my process. I often pinch my brush to remove excess water. This is mostly a dry watercolor method because the images are so small, and it could really easily get away from you if you use too much water. You can see that I use a dark blue marker, this is number 565, to add shadows. This is key especially to the paper pieced areas. I'm going to set this to some music and meet you back here when it's time for the next steps. After I'm done coloring the image, I die cut it out. And what I love about art impression stamp and die sets is that there's nearly no margin. But this means that you need to be really precise in lining it up before you die cut it. So take a little extra time and make sure that you use a low-tack tape to keep it in place. I used a Wink of Stella glitter pen to add just a touch of sparkle. I decided to add a bit of shadow behind the paintbrushes and also add paint color to the tips of the brushes. I used an X-Acto knife to cut a slit above the jar, and then I slipped the paintbrushes in. For the card base and mechanism, I used this die set from Dare to Be Artsy, called Pop-Up Feature Die. This die cuts the pop-up mechanism. After I cut it, I folded the scored lines, Valley, Mountain, Valley. I used this die to cut the card base. I cut it out twice, once from sturdy paper and once from patterned paper, and then I glued them together to make the card base more substantial. This piece is cut 3 inches by 4 3/8 inches per the instructions. There's no die for this, you just cut it out using those dimensions. Place this piece behind the mechanism, making sure it's straight and centered, and then glue the tab piece in place. Before attaching this piece to the mechanism, I stamped the sentiment to the top. For this card, I chose Welcome to My Craft Room, but for the original card, I used Queen of Craft. Both of these sentiments are from the Art Impression stamp set. Once stamped, that piece can be glued into place. Line it up behind the mechanism and only apply glue to the bottom section of that mechanism. And now you can see how this will work. Holding this piece over the base piece, I mark where the revealed area will be so that I can stamp a sentiment there. I am stamping I Hope This Brightens Your Day. It's a sentiment from a stamp set from Creative Craft Products. I attach the mechanism to the card base using foam tape. You put the foam tape on the sides and on the bottom. Now I can glue the image to be popped up into place. I glued just the bottom part of the image to the area just above the part where we glued the pull-up part. Next, I tied a ribbon to the top tab to make it obvious to pull it. For the flat area beneath the image, I used this sticker that says, Thinking of You. And I almost forgot off-center parameter on my original card. I simply found a clear metallic flower from this sticker book and stuck it, you guessed it, off-center. I hope you enjoyed this process video for Craft Roulette. I'll see you Friday night. Hey, if you like this project and want to see more like it, let me know by giving me a thumbs up, subscribing, and leaving a comment. Take care.